everybody. Oh, that is Elaine. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It's better, show the love. This light's glaring in my eyes, but I'm trying to ignore it. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Right. Socrates was sitting at the entrance of a city, and he had his apprentice beside him. A man came walking along and said, "I'm thinking of moving to this city. Can you tell me what it's like to live here?" Socrates said, "Definitely, but please tell me, what is it like where you live?" The man said, I tell you what, they're backstabbers, they're thieves, they're really horrible people. I won't be leaving any friends behind, just enemies." Socrates acknowledged what he said. He said, "Well, I'm sorry to say, you will find the same thing here." The man thanked him and went on his way. Shortly afterwards, another man came along and he said, "Can you tell me, what is it like to live in this city?" Once again, the philosopher said, "Tell me, what is it like where you live?" The man said, "Oh, it's wonderful. People smile at you as you walk down the street. We're friendly, we're kind, we show each other respect. I'm going to be leaving behind so many friends." Socrates said, "Welcome, you will love this city." The man went along his way and said, "Thank you." The apprentice was sitting next to him and said, "Socrates, you've told two different people two different answers. What's up with that?" Socrates said, "Young man, you will learn that your mindset and your thinking dictates the quality of your life, your realities, your experiences." So, saying that, who am I? My name's Elaine, Elaine Powell, and I am an inspirational speaker, a life coach, a life skills trainer as well, and an author. So lovely event has asked me to come today to tell you something about myself, my journey. And I hope at the end of it I will impart some slight pearls of wisdom. Some of it you will know, and some of it will be new, but I also want you to try and apply it, because there's nothing worse than hearing something and not putting anything into action. So I was, at some point, it wasn't many years ago, I was your age, and I didn't know really what I wanted to do with my life. So if you don't have a plan for your life, unfortunately, life kind of kicks in. So I was a secretary. I then progressed to be a paralegal, worked for a wonderful law firm. Life was good, I was in love, and I was just doing things in my 20s, clubbing and enjoying life. But there was a kind of an undercurrent inside of me, that I was always searching for something, and I wasn't happy. Now for me, there's been some really large stepping stones that have made me the person I am today. So I'm going to share those with you. And one of those, and I think it's that whole searching thing, is, I know it sounds very cliche, but for me, I found God. That was a major, and it's been a major current for me for my life. I remember I was sitting on the tube, and I was watching it was a young black boy, and he was trying to engage a woman next to him, and he was trying to tell her about God. And the woman just wasn't having it. She was having none of it. And I was actually really interested, because at that time I said I believed in God, but actually I didn't really. And so I engaged his eyes, and I had all these questions in my head. Why is life how it is? Why are people how they are? Why? So we glanced at each other, we smiled, we went upstairs, we started talking, and for me that was my journey of going inwards. From the time that I went inwards, I always say that all of us are like flowers. Some are shrubs, some are prickly rose bushes, but really we're flowers. And underneath that, or on top of that flower, sometimes there's a lot of garbage through experiences, childhood. And for me, something that happened by going internally, I started to do some digging. And I started to weed out all the things that weren't helping me in my life. And underneath was a beautiful flower you see before you now. I kind of equate it to, who's seen The Matrix? Yeah, it's like the blue pill or the red pill. Yeah? And I took the red pill, I say enlightenment, but then along the journey I said, why oh why didn't I take that blue pill? Because sometimes ignorance is bliss, but most of the time it's not. So that was one, and it's kind of been an undercurrent for me my whole life, and just going that inwards where you start seeing what's inside of you, because you create your reality. So I was in my job, I wasn't happy, and I really worked out that you work a third of your life, your adult life, you sleep a third, and you play a third. So I thought, ooh, if I'm going to be working a third, I really, really need to be fulfilled. And I wasn't being fulfilled. So I sat back and I started to go inwards and say, okay, what do I really want to do in my life? What am I passionate about? And for me, it was working with young people and inspiring them, giving them knowledge and wisdom. And as you'll find out, because you're all on your journey, once you have that focus of where you want to go, don't worry about the how. The how will turn up because doors started to open for me. And I went to work in a behaviour assessment unit for young offenders called Orchard Lodge. And these young people had the most outrageous behaviours. So I worked with them on their mindset, their emotions. And for me, that was a wonderful turning point in my life, just understanding how we are as human beings. During that time, I decided I needed to go off travelling for a year, so I kind of went off and had the freedom of travelling the world, and I kind of say I went to 18 countries, and I had 18 starters, and I decided which ones I wanted to stay for the main course, and some of them totally take off the menu. So I came back, and when I came back, because I'd experienced so many different things and just having that freedom, I decided that I kind of couldn't work for somebody else anymore. And I kind of wanted to get out of what some people will call the rat race. So I just started to speaking and have a focus of where I wanted to go. And as I said, eventually the doors opened, which has led me to where I am now, which is a speaker, life coach, and a trainer. So I do confidence building. So that's kind of my short journey, but just as each and every one of you has your own journey, I always say that our life is like a soap opera. Whose life is like EastEnders? No. I'm glad to say my life is not like EastEnders, but we all have our story that we will tell and the things that have led us to who we are now. And for me, the undercurrent of who I am is being aware. So that's 4 things I kind of want to share with you this evening about self-awareness. They did a survey once, and they found out that in terms of being successful, I guess it's guaranteed that everybody here wants to be successful in life, yeah? Yeah. But there's different areas that you can be successful. It could be financial, vocational, spiritual, mental. So it doesn't actually have to be just in your vocation. But they found that in order to be successful, it took 20% skills and 80% mindset and emotions. So hence, this is why my story and the message I want to get across to you is that as young black people, as a human race, we actually need to spend more time on developing ourselves and being aware of who we are and what we're projecting out. So the four things I kind of want to share with you is being more aware of who you are. How many of you have friends who there's always drama happening around them? They're on the, put your hands up. They're always on the phone. And keep your hands up if that's you. Yeah. Okay. Sorry to say, you are creating your reality yourself. You are the creator of your own life. This is the time now, when things aren't going right, that you need to sit down and you need to say, okay, what do I need to do in order to make that change? There's no point in blaming other people, because you know what they say about the finger? One's pointing at everybody else. How many's pointing at you? 4. Who said 4? That's a fucking yes. 3. So, being self-aware is very, very important. Once you start going inside of yourself and actually being honest with who you are, that's the only way you will actually improve yourself and move on to where you need to. Life is ups, and what else is it? And up, and up. Unfortunately, that's the reality of life. And it's actually in the down, that's where you grow the most. In the down, that's where you find your strengths. In the down, that's where you find your talents, all abilities that you actually didn't know you had. So actually, when the downs are happening, say, thank you, Lord, because you know you're going to grow even more as a person. Use those things that you've learned about yourself to say, okay, what did I do wrong? What am I going to do different next time? They say failure is not failure, it's just learning how to do it better the next time. The second thing I kind of want to share with you, and you've seen it with me and partly in my life, is change. How many people here embrace change? Embrace it. Love it. Love it. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. Anyway, let me not get carried away. Yeah, so embracing change. Change is phenomenal, but also it's very scary. Because what are you coming outside of? Your comfort zone. That zone that says, you know what, I'm good at this. I shine. Yeah? But when you come out of that and you stretch yourself, it's possibly you won't shine. And you may fail the first time, the second time, but what are you going to do? You're going to learn how to do it better the next time. So embrace change. I love change. I make change happen. A lot of times, hence I'm a nomad. I move all over the place, countries, everything. Because when I change, everything around me changes. They say that doing the same thing, expecting the same results, hey, hang on to my brother, is madness. Yeah? So you have to make that change, and don't be scared because it will stretch you. The third thing I'm going to share with you is something I'm very passionate about and I understand a lot of, is emotions. Women. Yes, we are ruled by emotions a lot of times. How many times, because when situations happen, unfortunately, the thing that kicks in the first is what? Your emotions. The thinking it was sleeping. It was way asleep. Your emotions were just kind of racing ahead of it. How many of you have, when you've either been really sad or really angry, made that phone call, sent that text, and then regretted it afterwards? Come on, be honest. Only a few.
Not everyone's there.
Fine, okay, I can think of another scenario. How many times have you said something when you've been angry or sad and you've regretted it? Come on, hello. Yes.
Yeah, can't be alone in it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember in my 20s, part of myself, I was just full of emotions. The thinking just was zombie. So I just used to react on everything and get myself in some really stupid, embarrassing situations. So something I want you to be aware of are your emotions. If you're ever at those either extremes, you need to sleep on it, you need to go away, take some deep breaths, and then it's hard, everything's hard, but it takes practice, bit by bit by bit. Because your emotions and your thinking are really going to propel you to where you need to get to. But also, don't forget that inside those emotions, inside there, is something that we call the gut feeling. That sixth sense. And you need to be aware of that so you can listen to it, because that's your guidance. They say your 5 senses take you to the end of the road. The 6th sense knows what's around the corner. How many of you have had that gut feeling? You didn't listen to it. Things went pear-shaped and you thought, oh my. Come on, how many of you? Right. Be aware of these things. This is your internal guide. Start being more aware of what's happening inside in order that you will have a successful outside. Stop looking outside for your results because it's all inside. And lastly, I know sadly, But lastly, the fourth one is your thinking. Your thinking creates your reality, creates your life. Now your thoughts are really multi-layered. You've got conscious, unconscious, limiting beliefs, values, which I haven't got time to go into now. But one thing which I want to impart with you that you actually can do when you leave here is start thinking about what you're thinking about. How many of you have done that? Let me rewind. Start thinking about what you're thinking about. Now I did this many years ago, and oh lordy, lordy, lord. When I started to monitor what I was really thinking about, it was just because we have 60,000 thoughts a day, what was flashing through my head, I'd say about 40% of it was anger, blame, worry, mind reading other people. Oh, she's going to think this about me, and then this is going to happen, and then, or I was magnifying things. It started off as a seed, and when I'd finished, it was Mount Everest. You know, so I realised when I started monitoring what I was thinking about that I needed to change those thinking. And when I actually was aware of the thinking and took them away, I had some big empty space going on inside my head, and this is true. And I was like, whoa, I feel lighter inside, I feel happier. And so I started to fill up that space with books, Think and Grow Rich, Manifest Your Destiny, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, all these magnificent books, seminars, and I am the budding rose you see today. Still a work in progress, as we all are. But I say be very, very careful of your thoughts and start monitoring them. This is something you can do that doesn't cost you anything. Because what you give out, what happens? You give back, yeah? So, what I'd like to end with is a lovely quote I like. And you can remember it so it reminds you of your thinking. Be careful of your thoughts, because they turn into, you can come along with me if you know it, words. Be careful of your words, because they will turn into your